All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. What can you say about this? I mean, 3 years ago, when Lincoln Riley arrived in Los Angeles, he was met there with a hero's welcome as he was expected to turn around the fortunes of the Southern California Trojans on the gridiron. But instead, what USC has on their hands is an underachieving head coach with a huge contract and a bloated buyout. Now, in 2022, Riley led USC to an 11-3 mark. But ever since then, the Trojans are only 11-9. Okay, and this is within conference play. Or pardon me, overall rather. It's one of those where going back to that season, you can make the case that they're 11-11 because they began that year 11-1. They lost the Pac-12 championship game to Utah, and then they were upset in the Cotton Bowl, courtesy of Tulane. I mean, you look at it this season so far; it's a 3-4 start to this campaign for the men of Troy as they are transitioning to the Big Ten, and as the weeks have gone by on this college football season, the losses continue to get more frustrating if you're a fan of the Trojans. You had a 3-point loss last month to a down Michigan team. The last 3 weeks, they lost by 7 at Minnesota. They lost by 3 at home to Penn State, and they lost by 1 yesterday in College Park to Maryland. All four of these games have something in common. SC had the lead in the second half of this game, and they could not seal the deal. Now, in joining the Big Ten, USC was expected to contend with the likes of Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and the other juggernauts at the top of this league. And this is no disrespect to Minnesota and Maryland, okay? But USC going to the Big Ten was not supposed to be losing to them, okay? This team, they're so far, they're 1-4 within the Big Ten, and their one win came at home over Wisconsin, a game where USC trailed 21-10 at the half before they went on a 28 to nothing run to end this contest. So very easily, USC could have been 0-5 right now in the Big Ten. And with the exception of beating LSU in Las Vegas to begin the season, SC has not won a true road game this year. Now, in hiring Lincoln Riley, and this is where the buck stops, okay? He was expected to take SC back to where they were under Pete Carroll, and that has been far from the case. All right. It's one of those, like I say in the description for this one, USC paid to get the Oklahoma version of Lincoln Riley, and instead, USC is getting the USC version of Lincoln Riley, and that ain't good. One of my biggest things is here: where are the recruits? Okay, you look at it because outside of Caleb Williams, who transferred to USC from Oklahoma when Riley left Oklahoma, where is the talent coming in for this team? Okay, and you think about it, the great state of California is talent laden. Okay, when it comes to football talent, but now we're seeing that top talent leave, going to the Big Ten, going to the SEC, and of course, in the original Pac-12 days before the league disbanded last year, it's one of those where we saw those kids going to places like Oregon and Washington. Why can't USC, especially with a high profile head coach like Lincoln Riley, be able to keep the local kids in Southern California? I'll say it like this: USC got rid of both Lane Kiffin and Clay Helton for less, and both of them had better results on the gridiron than Lincoln Riley is having with this program right now. And don't get me wrong, I knew that this was going to be a transition year for USC, but at the end of the day, was leaving the Pac-12 really worth it? Because USC and of course UCLA went along with them. Uh, that's what got the ball rolling as far as the beginning of the end for the original Pac 12. And you think about it, SC fit in like a glove with that conference. On top of that, I think Lincoln Riley's coaching style was more suited to the play of the Pac 12 and not the Big Ten. Okay, that's just my opinion on that. But getting back to Lincoln Riley, this is the risk that you run as an institution when you give head coaches bloated contracts with so many years on it and a crazy buyout number because SC was desperate to get back to prominence. Okay, I get it, I understand it, but Lincoln Riley, he's not coaching the same way because he's got job security. You look at Jimbo Fisher, who just got let go from Texas A&M last year. A&M wanted the Florida State version of Jimbo Fisher, and they didn't get it. Why? Because Jimbo was comfortable. He wasn't hungry anymore. He didn't have anything to prove. And I think this is the same thing right now with Lincoln Riley. He has nothing to prove. Okay, why? Because he's getting paid. And guess what? If SC lets him go, he's still going to get a chunk of that money again right there. And at the end of the day, who's hurting? The USC football program. Because again, they're 3-4. The men of Troy, they began this year ranked. They were in the bottom half of the top 25. Beating LSU, helped them. They could not seal the deal against Michigan. They got out physical. They got out physical once again by Minnesota. It was the same thing against Penn State. They had multiple 10-point leads in that game, and it wasn't just about their play. It was also about the play calling from Lincoln Riley on offense. It really hurt this team. And again, he still is not getting it done at USC. I'm looking at it, and it's amazing how things have changed so fast for the expectations for USC. They've lost three straight. Clearly, they're out of the mix to try to win the Big Ten. Clearly, they are out of the mix to try to compete for a college football playoff spot. They need to beat Rutgers at home on Friday night just to get back to 500. And now you're looking at this back end of the schedule where once upon a time it looked like USC was going to be in control. That ain't the case no more. They got Rutgers at home Friday. They're in Seattle to take on Washington to begin the month of November. They got a bye week before they come back home to host Nebraska, an improving Nebraska team. They're at UCLA and they finish up at the Coliseum at home against Notre Dame, a Notre Dame team that could be vying for a college football playoff berth. But again, this falls into the lap of Lincoln Riley. This is not even a what have you done for me lately scenario. It's what have you done, period. Okay, the people in LA, they don't want to hear about his past accolades for what he did in Norman with the Oklahoma Sooners. They want to see what he was paid, brought to USC and paid handsomely to do, and what he's done in the last couple of years is absolutely nothing. I want to see if these results remain the same on a gridiron for the men of Troy. How long is it going to take for the power brokers around this illustrious football program to say, you know what? Thanks for coming. It's time for you to exit stage right, and we're going to try something else. But nonetheless, this ain't working out. And if Lincoln Riley doesn't get his act together soon, I don't care how much money is on the table for his deal. USC will look in another direction for a head football coach. Like I said before, they paid for the Oklahoma version of Lincoln Riley, but what they have gotten so far is the USC version of Lincoln Riley. And what that says is a 3-4 team, a guy who's coaching like a mediocre head coach, a guy who's not hungry. And at the end of the day, you got a USC program that wants to be among the elite in the Big Ten, but they are fighting a huge uphill battle. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.